Well, good afternoon, listeners. Thank you for listening to Lament of Hope podcast. I was just thinking this afternoon what a gift I have, and that God's allowed me to have this platform, talk to so many different people. As of this episode, much more will have been published, but we've already done so many episodes of people around the world. God's been good. But I'm talking today with Leah Smith, and I came across one of her Instagram videos kind of randomly as I was doing that doom scroll that we usually all do at some point. And I could not get over first her contentment over some really hard situations, which is something that I really struggle with. So I was so drawn to that and just her peace of presence that she would have when she was doing her videos. Also, she's stand-up content creator because this woman is like putting out content, so much content every day. I'm like, I don't know how she's doing this because as one content creator to another, I mean, she's just like banging it out and doing great with that. Um, but Leah Smith is becoming more well known because she was covered in People magazine several weeks ago because she has congestive heart failure stage free. And she's been going through different surgeries, and she just recently got out of the hospital for an intense surgery that was done, open heart surgery. And she was not given a very positive prognosis at all when she started her life, and she's lived way past expectations. And she just turned 40, and she has two kids who love her dearly. And if you watch her Instagram videos, you'll see them pop up now and then with fun stuff that they do with her. And she just loves the Lord and has been recording her entire journey. And it's been so cool to see how the Lord has blessed her in telling the story. So, Leah, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really sweet. Thank you for the kind words that you've said. I
Well,
appreciate it.
Leah, for people obviously who are just starting to learn your story,
Mhm.
can you explain to them kind of how this started with the congestive heart failure and
Yeah.
what life has looked like for you? Like what's kind of your normal?
So when I was born with something called tricuspid atresia. And at the time, they typically did surgery for people in my situation at 2 years old, and I wasn't going to make it that long. So they ended up doing kind of like more of an experimental surgery around the ninth or 10th month, and that really helped it. But because of my congenital heart defect, I don't have all the pieces to my heart. I'm missing a lot, and I was missing the tricuspid valve and one of my chambers. And so they kind of had to really go in and like rewire things to be able to flow a different way so that I can still function without it. So I had the Bajork Fontan, and things were good. At 5 years old, I got a staph infection from one of the pacer wires that they left in there. And then I had another open heart surgery at 5, and they ended up like leaving my whole chest open to heal, like closed me from the sternum and then left every single thing open. And so I healed that way. And I did meet all, the life expectancies by the grace of God. Like I kept living and functioning, and they were like, how is she doing so well? I mean, they thought I wasn't going to live till one. Then they said I wasn't going to live throughout childhood, and then I wasn't going to ever be able to get married and have kids. And I have two healthy babies, 8 and 9 and 12. And that's all by the grace of God, because God allowed that to happen. My pregnancies were pretty hard in terms of like my heart,
Hmm.
but I did, I did have healthy pregnancies. And I actually started exercising after that, and I started like running and doing Pilates and walking and kind of getting in really good shape. And it's so funny because I'm looking back, and like a year ago, I did this like 2 mile marathon with one of my girlfriends for 4th of July. And it was like last 4th of July. That's what I was doing. And I was just in this amazing condition where I was just so healthy and I was in shape and everything. And then probably around December, I told my husband, I was like, man, I can't really run anymore. I'm just really short of breath. And he's like, well, why don't you just go for walks? So I was going for walks with my dogs and stuff. was like, I can't really walk anymore. I'm short of breath. And then it was to the point where I was short of breath just talking. And so I was like, okay, there's something wrong here. And at the same time, I was gaining a lot of weight. Now that I didn't realize it was fluid retention, but I remember telling him there is no reason I should be gaining this weight because I'm eating so clean. I'm working out. Like I'm not doing anything to gain this weight. Like there's something wrong.
Well, it was
Uh,
incredible with your videos because you would show like just because I have
oh yeah,
I have IBS, which is not nearly as extreme, but the bloating, I mean, how
I look
far your
pregnant.
stomach will go, and you're
Yeah.
like, what's happening to me?
I remember telling him, I was like, I look pregnant and then I was gaining it like in my face and everything. And on the scale, it was just getting more and more. And I actually was totally in denial that it was my heart because I was like, I had been running. Like I literally was running up until the day that I went to the hospital.
Hmm.
Super short of breath, just kept pushing myself because I didn't know it was my heart. And I went to the doctor, just like a regular doctor, and I was like, I think I have walking pneumonia. I was in denial that it was my heart because I'd been so good for so long. And then he took like one look at me and he goes, no, it's not walking pneumonia, it's your heart. And he put me like right into the ER. And basically, my oxygen level was 85. And if you know anything about that, like the normal range is probably 97 to 100.
Hmm.
I typically run like 92 to 94, but 85, like you need to be on oxygen at that point. And I was just like walking around, running, doing all my stuff. And so my oxygen was dipping into the low 80s while I was doing all this. And I didn't know. Anyway, I found out, of course, that's why, like, that's what all my symptoms were. So it's kind of one thing after another, just being in the hospital, trying to get on the right diuretics, trying to figure out what's going on with my heart and everything like that. But yeah, I was definitely in denial, did not think it was my heart. And it definitely was. So I was in and out of the hospital for quite a while from that.
Well, how do you tell the difference between the anxiety you feel? Because you've shared you have anxiety, which obviously can cause
Hmm.
palpitations,
Hmm.
tight chest, all that stuff. How do you know for you when you're like, okay, this is my condition, and then other times when you're like, okay, this is me just being really anxious?
I see. I don't know when, like, I can feel my palpitations with my heart, and I don't know, there's some sort of correlation, but I don't know if it's anxiety leading to palpitations. I think it's more palpitations triggering that anxiety.
Yeah.
Um, but I do have anxiety disorder, and I also have a history of depression. And that's one reason why I went onto social media. It was like kind of the main reason where I just felt so isolated and lonely. And even though I have this like great family life, I had horrible depression. And I was like, man, if I'm feeling like this, there's other people out there who are feeling like this. And maybe if I can help other people, I can kind of take the focus off myself and onto helping others. And I did that. And it really did help me. It was like kind of my outlet, my creative outlet of, okay, there's other people struggling. Well, let's focus on them and helping them
Yeah.
um, with their anxiety, with their depression. And in a way, it kind of helps me with mine as well. So, my whole goal of like social media, obviously, the goal one day I would love to have like millions of followers and be this, influencer and stuff. But that wasn't like my goal. Making money is amazing, but my goal was always to help other people mentally, spiritually, just life is hard, right? Life is so hard. And
Yeah.
I felt like if I can just make like a small difference in somebody's life, point them to Christ, help them with what they're going through mentally, uh, that was kind of what I felt like was my purpose. And so I started this prior to all of my heart stuff. I started social media a year and a half, maybe. And that was my why. That was like why I was doing it. And the heart stuff, I never planned on sharing because I'd been so private about it my whole life. And when I was in the hospital, one of the times, a lot of the people from my church were finding out, and I didn't want like some people to know and not others. And there's a lot of people from my church that I know that were following me. So I just kind of put this up and I was like, hey, just, say a quick prayer for me. I'm in the hospital with my heart issues. And um, I never anticipated like reaching so many people through it. But of course God did, and he had a reason for it. And I think by being vulnerable and sharing my story, I've kind of come across this new group of people, and it's really the people who are chronically ill, who are disabled, who are struggling with health issues. And I was like, wow, I feel like these are my people. I can help them because I'm
Yeah.
going through that as well. So not just
Yeah.
like the mental health aspect, but also the people who are struggling with illnesses or their family member is. And I was like, I can help them. And so I just kept starting to share more and more.
Well, I wanted to ask you because one thing that has just struck me being a believer is I can't imagine going through what you've gone through already. Like it's like that is my biggest fear. You know, something really, really hard happening like that. Because I've
Mhm.
had hard things happen in my life, but m my health is always something that I've struggled with and have so much worry about. And when I watch your videos, I mean, you're real. You're saying, you know, you are in the moment. But I can also tell like there's a peace about you despite the fact that you're going through all this hard stuff. It's not like you're just erratic or like really just all over the place. And I like how does that work for you? Like how is I mean obviously you'll say it's the Lord, but is there just something is there that a spiritual discipline that really helps you or just something that maybe you even feel the Lord's given you a gift in that sense to give you this peace despite everything going on?
So I've actually had so much health stuff throughout my life. Not just even my heart, but other times in my life where I've almost died multiple times. Like I can't count on both hands the number of times I've almost died and like been this close to dying. Um, and I think something happens when you have near death experiences where you can get, it's one of two things. You either just freak out and you have like a lot of PTSD from it, or you just learn to surrender every single part of your life to God. Because ultimately, nobody's promised tomorrow. We could be the healthiest person in the world and a plane could fall on our head, or we could just not wake up one day and we never know. And so I think what it is with me in terms of you're asking, like, how do I have peace about things? It's literally just surrendering every single thing as the situation arises,
Yes,
surrendering
yeah.
to God. And so I struggle with anxiety, but the thing that helps me with that is literally taking each fear. Sometimes I write it down. I'm afraid that I'm, going to die in my sleep, whatever. And then you write down the truth. The truth is God has protected me all these other times. He's not going to fail me now. He has a plan and a purpose for my life, and I need to trust him. And it's surrendering that God, I'm giving you my life. I'm giving you all of my fears, all of my worries, and I'm choosing to trust you.
Yeah.
Even though I'm scared, I'm choosing to trust you, and I'm going to, like, from this part forward, just trust that you have a plan for me and that I don't need to worry about it. And I'm not going to say I'm perfect on it, but I do have perfect peace knowing that God is in control and that he has a plan for my life, and he's not surprised by any of this.
Well, that's what I'm encouraged by because when you say you write it down, you're doing this moment by moment. I think a
Yes.
lot of times we say, I surrender, and then we feel like, oh,
Mhm.
that's just like forever.
Mhm.
And it's a moment by moment thing, like you said, or it's like maybe you're doing it 5 times in 1 hour, you know, whatever it is.
Yes, absolutely. And it's not just when you're in church and the preacher says surrender. It's not just that. Then it's literally second by second, minute by minute. Every single time the enemy likes to throw a thought in your head, you have to
Yeah.
get, like, reverse it and give it back to God and surrender it. And the anxiety comes a lot when we try to control our lives and we try to control what happens to us in the future, but we have zero control over things like that. So we just have to pray. And I think the more you pray, the more peace you have. And I mean, obviously, I was worried and anxious about my future, but I know the one who has me in his hands, and I know that, God's got it. And so I think that just gives you peace when you pray about things constantly. Like I am praying all throughout the day. It's not just when I wake up or when I'm going to bed or when I'm eating. I'm praying every time that anxious thought pops up in my head. I'm just resurrendering it to God.
Do you have a, when you were choosing, like when you were thinking of becoming a mom, because that's one thing I struggle with having anxiety is I always go, I don't know if I'd be a good mom because I always think about, and I was so impressed with one of your videos because you were talking about, and I think I saved it, but you said that being a mom, you'll have your kids come to you and they're like, Mom, like, what if you die? Which is literally your thoughts, right?
Yeah,
And then they come into these little people and they come up to you and they're like speaking to you and they're like, they want comfort.
yeah.
And you have to be in that moment, not not unrealistic with your children, like you're real with them, but you also aren't catastrophic. Like they're coming to you with the catastrophe and you're leveling it out. Did you like did you always want to be a mom knowing that this was, that you had anxiety, depression, that this was hard? And then also, how did you train yourself to go, okay, my kid's coming to me, instead of going to my kid and wanting comfort from them and sucking that out of them because I'm really scared, being that rock even when you're really scared?
That's a good question. I think it's really teaching your child how to have a relationship with God, not just praying a prayer of salvation, but actually talking to Him and getting the comfort from God. So every time they're worried about something, I always shift it back to the Lord and I say, God is bigger than this. God can handle it. Let's pray. Let's trust Him. Wow, God answered this prayer, and just like helping their walk with God has really been what's helpful. But at the same time, like as a parent, you do try to shelter them and you do try to make them feel like everything is going to be okay. And I've been like probably too frank with my children, too blunt. I'm not like the mom who, sugarcoats things. I kind of like speak to them very raw and real. But I said, okay, let's take your worst fear. Your worst fear is that something bad happens to me and I'm not alive anymore. Then what? And then we discuss it. What's going to happen then? Well, then God is going to give you this comfort and this peace, and He's going to make it to where you're able to cope. Right now, you feel like you can't, but God is the comforter. And I kind of just like shift it back always to God. Um, but then also, you know what? Don't worry about it because most of the things that we worry about never come true. And just trying to ease their fears, I think you'll know when you're a mom, like you might be nervous about it, but you're gonna get it. It's like this motherly instinct to protect your children, but at the same time, like these are really raw, real feelings that they're having. So I always validate their feelings. Like I understand how you're feeling and I sympathize with you and it is hard what you're going through, but
Yeah.
God is bigger than this and let's give it to Him. And everything is shifts back to a relationship with God because ultimately God's the one that is going to be able to, fix everything. Did I answer your question? Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say though, when you have a crisis of moment, because obviously you're human, so you're gonna have these moments when you're
Mhm,
terrified. Where do you go? Like, I know God, obviously, it's a huge thing,
mhm.
but I know a support system, a community, and scripture talks about this so much, is so important. Is there like a community or a type of, like, even maybe your husband, but when you're freaking out internally, where
Yes.
where do you go, okay, I
Definitely
need somebody right now?
my freakouts. Like, please don't anybody ever look at me and say, "Oh, she's the perfect Christian and she never worries or has fears or anything." Because that's not the case. I'm trying to show you what anxiety looks like from a Christian perspective, always giving it back to God and praying. But I have my own freakouts. One of my videos that went viral was me having a panic attack. So clearly, I do have those issues. I would say like my number one person that I go to is my husband. For whatever reason, that man is never anxious. And he is just like, I call him my Xanax because he just calms me down.
Yeah.
And he just makes me feel like everything's going to be okay. I was in the hospital literally fighting for my life. I was in AFib. My heart rhythm wasn't okay. My heart was giving out. And I looked at him and I was literally like, I feel like I'm dying in front of you. And he's like, you're going to be okay. Just, I promise everything's going to be okay. Just trust God. Like it's, and he was just like comforting and he's just the best man in the world. But he never has anxiety or that worry that I have. And so he can calm me down because he just knows everything's going to be okay. And like I trust his calmness, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So he is really like my person that I go to. I'm also like really close with my dad, and my dad and I kind of have the same humor where we kind of make jokes and they're very sarcastic about everything. So we're just like, like my dad was saying, oh, don't worry about the open heart surgery. Uh, once they put you to sleep, you're going to wake up. We don't know where. You might wake up in heaven, but you're going to wake, just like making jokes about it, which
You
kind of
will
just,
wake up.
you will wake up, like, and then my mom is my prayer warrior. And she just, anytime I text her anything, can you pray about this? Like she will pray about that until that situation is resolved.
Hmm.
And like I look back and I know my mom's praying for me. And so I do have like a really good support system. I don't understand, number one, how people get through life without God, but then also without that support system and dealing with something so heavy.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's challenging, but I feel very blessed that I have a great support system.
Can I ask you, what was that like? Because you gave a little video and you mentioned it several times while you were in the hospital that you had like your heart rate was going up. Can you just describe for me, like, what was that like for you when you were there? Like, how did it start? What were your thoughts? And
Mhm.
then when you look back, what is one thing that you can say, thank you? I'm just can't believe that I'm here now. Like, the Lord was there, even though in the moment maybe I didn't feel that way.
Yeah, it's like hard because now I have to go back to a time where I try to block off, but I will do this for you.
Oh, I'm
um,
sorry. You don't have to.
no, it's good because it's important. Um, there were so many times in the hospital where I almost died, and I think probably the scariest one was after my open heart surgery because I was very, very weak. My heart was weak, and it's kind of has to, it just was played with and worked on and surgically, adjusted. And my heart was just freaking out and it was not happy. And then on top of it, my electrolytes were off. And anytime my potassium or magnesium is low, my heart gets very, very angry. And I also had severe blood loss. They had to give me transfusions. I had a collapsed lung, a pneumothorax, hematoma, like just all sorts of complications. And then on top of that, I went partially blind from a medicine.
Yeah.
And I was all drugged up but I was very aware of how sick I was. And that one time that I was saying that I was talking to my husband, my heart rate would be, let's say, normal, like 73, and then it would jump to 160. And then it would go back down to 130, and then it would go to 190. And then it was kind of just staying at 170 for hours, probably like 13 to 16 hours of like 170. And then like ups and downs, and the rhythm was just so off. And I remember thinking my heart's
My
going to get back
gosh.
straight. I remember telling him, like, he's watching me in the hospital. I remember saying, I'm so sorry. I'm dying in front of you. And I'm sorry. I'm trying to fight it. I'm trying. I'm trying. I'm so sorry. Like, you have to watch me die. Like I literally thought I was dying right then. And
Is there nothing doctors can do when your heart gets that high?
when your heart gets that high, they can give you medicine, but they kind of like have to wait for your heart to figure out, like with the medicine, how to get back to normal. It kind of
Yeah.
has to be on its own, or they're going to have to like shock your heart, with the paddles. At one point, they had the paddles ready. I
Oh
was kind
my
of praying
gosh,
to
Leah.
have that because like that freaked me out, but they were going to kind of put me up to sleep and then shock my heart and then hopefully it restarted itself. Um, so it was kind of like on the verge of that. And I remember thinking, God, like just kind of praying about it and saying, you are in control, and I literally, they tried to give me sleeping medicine. I wouldn't take it. And I just prayed that entire night. I didn't sleep. And I just prayed, God, please give me more time with my kids. Please give me more time on this earth to serve you, because I feel like I'm not done yet. And I feel like there's more to my story. And I feel like there are too many people for me to help. And then I also said, God, there are so many people praying for me, and they need to see this miracle. They need to see you heal and know that you can heal still, that you're not just the God who heals in the Bible, but you're the God who heals now. And by watching my healing, they're going to be able to look back and say, God did that. And so
Mm.
I was just kind of begging for my life in the hospital, just praying that entire time, God, please show yourself mighty, show yourself um, that you can do this miraculous healing. And I prayed and I prayed. And then I think I fell asleep for like a little bit. It wasn't very long. And when I woke up, I was out of AFib, but I was still in a very high heart rate and irregular beating. It was like atrial fibrillation or fluttering. And I remember thinking, okay, like it's getting better. I'm not in the danger zone, because when you stay in AFib too long, that's when you start stroking out, or having a heart attack. And so, like, I felt like it happening, but it was literally, I prayed that whole time. And I just said, God, I'm begging you, please show everybody how strong you are. Show everybody how mighty you are. Show my kids that praying for mom to survive works, that prayer works, because I wanted to be that miracle so that people can look and say, God's real. God did this. And he did it. And I'm beyond grateful, because like I said, I feel like my time isn't over. I feel like I have more people to help. I have more to do. And I feel like I'm just finally starting to find my purpose in life, which is helping others.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was very scary.
I
Very
I I
scary.
can't imagine because I mean I've had palpitations I've had where your heart starts going. I've never gotten to 190. I can't even imagine what that feels like.
And like you're trying to calm it down, but there's literally nothing you can do, because it's your
Yeah.
heart just like freaking out. Um, and they were giving me all this medicine to kind of counterbalance, counteract it and stuff like that. But the heart just kind of had to either the heart was going to figure it out, or the heart was going to stop. And I was just praying that my heart would figure it out, because it was nothing in my power. And I think that's kind of what I was telling you about. There's so much out of our control that we literally have to give everything to God and just trust Him, because we are very helpless. We can't do anything in our own power.
Yeah. Can I ask just as a last question for you, because I want to be respectful of your time. If somebody was to ask you to um, say a word or a phrase that describes who Leah is, who you think the Lord's made you to be, what what phrase or word do you think you'd use?
Man, that's such a good question. Give me a second. I feel like at the end of my life, what I want to be remembered as is somebody who loves God and loves people. And like I hope that people can look at Leah Smith's life and say that woman loved God and loved people. Like that, I hope that would be like almost on my tombstone, like my phrase that would be for my life. I'm trying to live it. Obviously, I'm not perfect. Everybody messes up and makes mistakes, but I feel like that is like my phrase for my life. Somebody who loves God and loves others.
Yeah. And also makes amazing content creating
I
videos.
hope so. I'm not like this, figuring it out as I go. Like
Girl, I can't
I
I
never know
don't
what's
know
gonna.
how you do so much. Like you're just so great and also you're very photogenic, so that
Oh,
helps.
Thank
But
you.
you're like, I'm off to the mall. And then it would always crack me up how you were in the hospital and the thing you'd be like opening up the food and you'd be going,
I
this is
know.
what I'm eating. And I'm thinking to myself, the last thing I would think about doing is like telling people how bad the food in the hospital was. And then you would turn the camera on and you'd eat it. And you're like, this isn't bad. I'm like, is for real? I was like, wow. Because all I can never do is complain about hospital food whenever I've been there.
It's so funny because I tried to do content creation this whole time because there were people following my journey, and I didn't want to be like, okay, see you in a couple weeks. You know what I mean? So I really tried to take you guys with me. Um, and there's only so much I can talk about myself, like without coming out like super conceited or selfish. Okay, her whole thing's about herself, and I don't want that. So I was trying to come up with like ideas of something to talk about, and the only thing I could think about was my food because it kept coming 3 times a day. I'm like, oh well, here's another one. But in terms of like content creation, like I'm figuring it out as I go. Honestly, like I'm not trendy. I'm not cool. I'm 40. I'm not like a dancer. I'm not a TikTok, like cutesy, trendy thing. Like I would love to be that, but I just not me. So you kind of have to work with what you got. I think what I have though is
You're vulnerable. You're real. That's the
yeah,
big thing.
hmm I think so. And I think that maybe is what like people can kind of just see who I am, and hopefully they love that and want to follow because I feel like I'm just getting started. I'm just cracking the surface of where my potential could be. Um, but I think like I hope when people come to my page, they just feel so encouraged and they just feel like God loves them so much and they desire a relationship with God. Like I hope that's my like what I'm putting off. Obviously, I love fashion and makeup and beauty and shopping and all the girly things. Like I love that stuff. And
It's so
like that's
satisfying
my
when your makeup pops on the video and you're
oh,
like,
I love like that is literally like I love that stuff because I'm girly. Prior to all this, I was doing like cleaning home, cleaning my house videos and cooking, but I'm not doing any of that stuff right now. So I'm like kind of just working with what I have. Anytime you see me going to lunch or shopping or something, that's like the extent of what I did that day. Like I don't after that I'm in bed. Like I do like one thing because I'm supposed to get out and walk. But I'm definitely figuring it out as I go. I am going to keep that stuff on my page because I love it. I love finding good deals and I love sharing it with all my friends. Like, oh my goodness, I just found this cool thing on Amazon. You guys, if you want it to, no pressure, but I love it. So I love sharing like my finds. But I think like ultimately my page, I want to lift people up and I want to point them to Christ. And I also want to help with like people, with their body image and with their self esteem and just making people feel like life is going to be okay and like you're going to get better. So hopefully that's what people get from my page. I'm trying.
well, I'm gonna tell you, like with the doom scrolling I was doing, I came across it and I instantly followed and I just loved it. And so I'm encouraged every time I see your stuff. I'm just really happy to see whatever you're doing. And I think that's the huge thing is you invite us into your world and it's messy and it's rough and then it's
Mhm.
good and there's fun things. But you're just yourself. And I
Yeah,
think that's something that will never get old for people.
yeah.
So for any listeners, I'll have Leah's Instagram link on my website. And also, she started a YouTube channel. She's trying to build it up. And I know how
Yes.
hard it is to get
It's
one
so hard.
channel, yeah, to move over. It's very difficult. And so I'd encourage you as well. You're going to see stuff on there about her YouTube channel. Please subscribe to that because she's trying to put her videos on there as well. And she has something exciting coming up when she hits, I think it's 3,000, right?
Mhm.
And so I would encourage you to do that, and you will be encouraged by her videos. They're just really sweet and fun. And yes, some of them are hard because something hard happens, but that's life. And so I think that makes it very relatable. So Leah, thank you. You're a
Thank you.
gift. And please keep posting, and you're an
Yes.
inspiration not only to believers, but to the content creators out there who are like, it is possible.
It is possible to be 40 and still create content. For
All
sure.
right. Bye,
If I can
Leah.
put anybody can. Thank you guys. Thank you.